As people all, in high school and into college, I went to Virginia Tech because of FFA, because I went to governor's school for agriculture. So I think it's a huge opportunity for these students, and we did have an FFA here at one point, I believe, because my plan is to contact Andy Seibel to get our number back, our chapter number, so we can resurrect the FFA chapter. But a lot of it is fundraising, a lot of it is extracurricular. Now FFA is a co-curricular program, so it goes along with the agriculture courses, but a lot of the activities are out of school time. So for instance, some of the things I did horse judging down at Virginia Tech. I've went to Kentucky for the state FFA convention. I've run for state FFA office, but unfortunately, some personal things, I couldn't do it. And it helps me get into my 2-year degree program at Virginia Tech. Because when I went through high school, I got college credit, because at that time I think it's called dual enrollment with, I don't remember exactly which college it was, but they gave me college credit for the Veterinary Science 2 course, which goes right along with FFA. So, does anybody have questions about FFA? Am I supposed to ask that?
We can get to questions at the end. Danny, could you explain to them the difference between the white and the yellow in the course listings?
Sure. The yellow is what is required for a student to complete the full academy. The white courses are naturally required for the diploma itself, the high school diploma. So it's a combination of both required diploma, Virginia diploma requirements, and academy requirements blended together.
And in some of those places, like if you look at the very 9th grade under semester 1, it says English 9, pre-AP, regular. Doesn't mean they have to take 2 English classes. It's one or the other. In some cases, there'll be 3 choices.
And another thing with FFA is I talk better just out loud. They have competitions, okay? So these kids can work towards a goal and then they go compete amongst others in the state, other schools. Like for instance, I did parliamentary procedure, I did extemporaneous public speaking, I did horse judging, I did cattle judging, I could go on and on and on. But it was something that got me involved in my community and I wasn't out doing bad things. I was focused and I was doing good and I was helping the community. We were all getting together and it was a lot of fun. And I went to Culpeper, so it was a pretty big community, but we were very tight-knit. I'm still an alumni for our Culpeper chapter and they have meetings that I usually don't attend, but I need to. I'm a little busy, so I haven't been attending them, but it's a great program. So I would love to, I don't understand why Rappahannock doesn't have one, so now is the opportunity to get one and go run with it.
And it should be noted too that when Dr. Grimsley came to us and said, I want 2 academies for next year, these were data-driven decisions based on the Profile Graduate team had collected data on students' interest and their career inventories and so forth. And agriculture and health science were the top 2 that kept coming up. So it was a natural fit for our school population. And then when we were designing this, we designed it specifically with our students' interest in mind, and that's why we came up with these 2 tracks. The education farming track was really, we mimicked Virginia Tech's associate degree in agriculture. So we looked at their degree to see, where their focus was, and then we built upon that. And then the veterinarian track was Michelle's expertise, and that's what she helped to enrich as well. Mr. Hogan was a big piece of the planning for the farming education track as well. He's very, very excited to bring those skills to our school community as well.
Yeah, and I did a mock question today in my class with my 6th graders, and I said, when you guys get to the high school, or maybe even before that, if you could take a class that was about animals and farming and how, what we can grow from the land and being able, let's say, to be a nurse for animals, how many of you all would be interested in that? And every one of them raised their hand. It was almost instantaneous. They love it. So.
Yes, I have a student today that struggles being at school every day. She finds it very hard to come to school and get out of bed and be here every day, all day. And I was actually working on the Agriculture Academy, and I had the paper sitting on my desk. And I said, aren't you interested in animals? And she said, yes. And I said, would you be interested in being lit up, and suddenly she's like, oh my gosh, that is what's going to get her to school. And she's very, very excited. She's like, is this for real? Yes, this is for real. So, and that was just today. So, we're very excited to introduce this to the student population. I think it's going to be huge.
So will it start with people who are currently 8th graders, or
It will be, all these yellow courses will be offered to 9 to 12. Not everybody, seniors of course aren't,
it might
not be able to meet the academy requirements, but they certainly could get the certifications before they graduate, some certifications under their belt. But I don't foresee many. There might be one rising senior next year that could complete the farming education track. But you never know. And we try to squeeze it in as best as we can. But I think kids are going to be really excited about both of these academies, all 4 of them.
And another target audience as far as the students, because of our block schedule, I mean, we have students that literally by the time they're entering their senior year, they got enough credits to graduate. And this is the type of thing that keeps them motivated to want to come here. And to answer your question, like for instance, it would be tough for a rising senior to perhaps complete this next year, but it also depends on what that rising senior has taken up until this point. It may be that if he or she has satisfied virtually all of their graduation requirements, they've got 8 slots that they could pull in. So, that's a stretch. Don't get me wrong, that's a stretch, but it's a possibility. All right, and if you don't mind, just go back one slide, Dr. Grimsley, just to show you on the left side of the brochure, it goes over the things that I talked about earlier about the course, the certifications that are available, the diploma seal, the 1 diploma seal, and then again, 2 different tracks that are available. Now, if we could go ahead we'll talk about our other academy, and Ms. Robin, I'm going to get you to come up here because this is our Health Sciences Academy, which in some ways, we're kind of been doing thanks to you all's efforts, but now it's going to be formalized, and I'm going to turn this over to Robin Murray.
Hello. Okay, so just to bring everybody up to speed quickly, RAPU, previously known, we started as a workforce training center offering nurse aid and medication aid. Quickly, we grew out of our space and moved to a new location last year. We had 41 students last year total, and we have 40 this semester. So, and a lot of that is thanks to RAPCE's board, which brings us up to the speed of why our name had to change. We worked effortlessly last year to become accredited through SHEV, which is the Higher Standards of Education for Virginia, to become not only a workforce training center, but to be a post-secondary school. We achieved that in October, but with that, we are not allowed to have U because it signifies that we could be a university here in Little Rappahannock, but we're not. So we had to change it to RAP Center for Education. And you guys may know or may not, for the past 2 years, you've had a nurse aid program here in the high school already. And at the beginning of this school year, through much discussion with Brittany Woolman, who was the previous instructor, and working with Dr. Grimsley about what would it look like if RAPCE took over the high school course. And so at the beginning of this school year, we did, and instead of running it as a 1-year course, we decided to run nurse aid as a 1-semester course. And the students did fantastic. You had 6 students, and all 6 students passed the class and passed their state board. First try. So that's very exciting. And the numbers have been the exact same with the students in previous classes with pass rates. So we started looking at this academy and what that would look like. We are now offering certified phlebotomy tech, EKG tech, certified clinical medical assistant, which is the 3rd fastest growing job in the U.S. right now. And all of those classes we can now offer through the NHA and through the accreditation with SHEV. So when we started putting this into place, and Ms. Pond and I started looking at what this would look like, this is what we came up with. Now, it looks intense. However, out of the class from your fall semester of nurse aid students, 3 of those students have come to take CCMA with me. I'm actually offering it here in the high school classrooms, first block, and we are doing a CCMA class. I have 2 11th graders, and then I have 3 seniors. Of those 3 seniors, they are actually going to graduate because I went to them and said, hey, Friday, do they have a free block? Can I steal them on Fridays too? And now I'm taking 3 of the seniors to the school on Fridays, and they are also getting their phlebotomy tech. So 3 of your seniors are actually going to graduate with 3 certificates, just like this academy. They are already certified nurse aides. They're going to have certified clinical medical assistant, which on average makes $20 an hour. And they're going to have certified phlebotomy tech. And I'm so proud of those 3 students, and they have kind of been our pilot program. Can we make this work? But when we were looking at it, we realized that there are some students who took nurse aid with us first semester that aren't at that level because they're just not looking into going to a college track. They're more looking to let me just get my nurse aid and medication aid, and I'm hireable, and I want to go work in a long-term care facility. The accelerated track, you're going to see they can go straight into the workforce and have up to 4 certificates, and they will probably want to go to college and may find that that's the job for them, and they can stay with just the certificates they have and make a livable wage, or they can go off to college. And all of these classes, we also looked at our prerequisites for RN programs. So we tried to set them up the best way we could with going through my healthcare career and what that looked like, and now working in education, how we can make this a really successful academy for the students. So, and 2 of those 3 students are actually going to go on their first ever overseas medical mission with me this summer to Africa. So I'm making sure they are well equipped before I take them. So yeah, and it's been great. It's been really fantastic, and I think this is going to be great. RAPCE is well aware, the board is aware of what we are looking at, and we've already started interviewing today, as a matter of fact, instructors to make this possible and make sure that we have enough staff to teach our on-site location and to be able to offer it in the high school. So.
And 2 things that we didn't mention, we're hoping, the ladies and I are hoping, is to introduce to our 8th graders an agri-science exploratory and health science exploratory to start to build and generate that interest and that understanding of these possibilities as young as 8th grade. So we're really trying to kick it off the ground and get it going.
Great. And I just want to reiterate something that Robin said, and this I hope will show you the level of thought that Danny and Robin and Michelle have put into these course offerings. You know, just that one comment, just kind of an aside that, oh, and by the way, these are also the prerequisites for an RN program. I mean, that's the kind of thought that these people have put into this program. It wasn't just throw some classes together that can earn some certificates and, hey, maybe we'll get a job offer. They really put a lot of thought in this. Is a pretty solid program. We're very excited about it, and I'm impressed. I'm just happy to be a part of it. I mean, I got to give a lot of credit to these people standing to my right, because they really did a lot of the digging into the details to make sure that, and it's probably going to look a little different than this by next fall, because, you know, we'll find some other things and tweak it and some additions, but we've been very pleased. I've been very pleased, and hopefully you all are as well. Questions?
If I could just add a couple of things that are important to note as you were presenting. You know, it sounds amazing, and why didn't we do this before, and why wasn't it possible, right? Because it seems like that not too difficult to put together. But we had some wonderful partnerships in the community. Obviously, RAPCE's, with what we've been working with our health sciences there, has just been a natural fit. But with the Ag Academy, it always blew my mind, previous life in career and tech, why in the world, in Rappahannock, we don't have a thriving ag program. And before, under the stringent, the restrictions from the Department of Education on teacher endorsements and licensure, what you needed for some of those career and tech tracks and grad requirements, it just wasn't feasible to hire for all of those pieces that you would need to make it work. Also, you know, having the additional endorsements enabling you to go across those tracks is really rare to find. So having a full-time person able to encapsulate that's difficult. The other thing is that now the Department of Education, on the shift toward the profile of a graduate and the requirements now for the standard diploma and advanced diploma, you don't have to have so many verified credits, so many SOL classes, so many SOLs you have to pass. And that's what locked us in, like for the career in tech, why we had a CNA here and a CNA at RAPC, because students needed the sequential electives with the full bore DOE endorsement, you know, track. So we had to have that. Now they've loosened up on that and said, you know what, the certification at the end is the same. If they have the credits and they have now the flexibility, why are we forcing them to take up those 2 years in their schedule block when they can do it in a semester? You know, so it doesn't make much sense that way, and then give them that workforce. So those were important considerations to this. And the other piece is, you know, with absorbing it within and our partnerships, we're doing this without adding anything to the budget. So doing all of this because of the partnerships we have, grants, and the additional endorsements that our staff have been able to get. So
It's amazing.
we're thrilled.
So are the veterinary classes going to be taught in-house or at RAPC, or how? When I see these
Those can be taught
classes that
here.
we don't have on our.
Most of those can be taught here. So I
Okay.
can actually, there's just an array of different things, hands-on activities you do with the students. Excuse me. Like you have the CPR dolls for health science, they have the same thing for animals.
Oh,
You have
gosh.
to get the dolls. Some of it you can get donated, there's grant money, but all of that, there's, you know, by the time that they're done with vet science 2, they should be able to walk into a vet hospital and start working, is how I envision it. Because from somebody that's been on the hiring front where I hire people, if I had an applicant that already knew how to, you know, properly restrain an animal and safely, that's huge, and it's hard to teach a novice. Somebody that knew medical lingo or jargon per se, terms, a base and pharmacology, all of that's really important. I would hire them in a heartbeat. In fact, Rose Hill's hiring right now for a vet assistant. If I had a senior that was ready to go, they'd have a job. And, you know, obviously vet techs, once you get licensed, you have to do a 250 question board exam. Okay, and I kind of compare that when I'm talking to kids, as if you have a vet assistant, which would be like your nursing assistant, and you have a licensed veterinary technician, which is like your RN for animals. So they have a place to go once they get their certification for veterinary assistant.
Is Rose Hill partnering with this?
I've already been working on that.
Pardon?
I've already been working on that. So I have.
I mean, it would help to have people talk to them?
Oh, Michelle's been working with
Yeah,
a lot of the
I worked
community and
with
partners,
her
soliciting
here,
interest
so.
from certain partners. So we haven't released all of that just yet, but we intend to do that. But we have many interested, you know, including farmers, vet technicians, and co-op opportunities, things like that, that we can build into this as it develops. But yes, we have some interest.
For a community standpoint, I know a lot of farmers in the area, big farms where they can go and work cattle. Dr. Massey is still a very, very good friend of mine. He's my mentor. I mean, from a veterinarian standpoint, it's fine. The relationship is there. Just, you know, getting approval to run with it.
Yeah.
There's nothing standing in your way, as far as I can tell. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good work. That's going to be a high impact
We're very excited.
program for children.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the Regional Special Education Memorandum of Understanding. This is that program that we had been talking to you about. That's still there. Sorry. Ms. Johnson, if you want to get up and say a few words about that. I know you've had a meeting or two about it, and we talked to you about that too. And that's the additional funding that you had seen for our regional special ed placement for alternative education.
Dawn?
Hello. So Mrs. Meyer and I had the opportunity to go have our first meeting with the Regional Special Education program in Fauquier County at the beginning of February. At that meeting, we were able to elect a chairperson. Mrs. Meyer is our vice chairperson for the regional program, and then Fauquier County is going to be serving in the fiduciary role. The special education director of that county will be the program lead. So the main topic of discussion at our very first meeting was bringing in a new county that wants to participate with us. Warren County is in the same position that we were in last year, in that they need to join a regional group. So they requested to partner with Fauquier County and Rappahannock County. So basically we redid this memorandum of understanding so that we could include Warren County, which was approved by the regional board in our first meeting. And we look forward to another meeting in the month of May. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any questions for this? Anyone? Thank you, Carol.
Okay, our next item is the budget. So we have put together the proposed budget, although I will tell you, Stacy and I were working quite into the late hours of the night last night and continued through just about an hour before this board meeting because numbers were continuously changing. We wanted it as accurate as possible. We still didn't make that happen because I have a few numbers in here that I'll take note of and that are a little bit different than what we put in the draft proposal, but the actual the draft proposed budget is accurate to the best of our knowledge right now. But it'll probably be a little bit different by the end of the week. But we'll give you that. So I'm going to hand it over to our CFO, Stacy Witt, to go over the highlights with you of what we've done in this budget. And then I'll share some more in the nitty-gritty.
Okay, so we had a base idea of what we wanted to do with the budget as far as our staff numbers, our raises, that sort of thing. So we decided to do a step plus a 3% increase for all staff members. Originally, we had told you, I believe at the last meeting, that our insurance rates had stayed the same. And I got an email over spring break, and they had revised our rates, and now we had a decrease of 2.6%. I was very excited, and was sending Shane a text.
On the verge of this economy.
Yeah.
For sure she was going the opposite direction.
Well, I was a little nervous when he sent me the email. Yeah. So that actually helped us a little bit too. Our VRS rate increased, not majorly over the next 2 years. It's less than 1%, but it's still an increase we had to account for. You just heard that we're going to do the introduction of both academies, the agriculture and the health science. So we included that in our budget. We had a reduction of the pupil service position at the school board office. And then we included a behavior interventionist at the high school. As far as transportation goes, our car routes have changed a little over the years, so we were able to reduce 2 of our car routes. And we removed the new bus purchase for next year, just so we can make sure that we get our staff the raises they need. Our goal is to make that only a 1-year time, because we can't let our fleets go. So.
And that came to at the recommendation of our transportation supervisor who had consolidated one route and was also able to, they've just done a really great job of keeping the fleet and everything, so they thought that 1 year would not be, out of the question. So that's what we've done right now. With the understanding that that's there may be some adjustments depending on how these state revenues come out, but right now that's where we're at.
We do not have a textbook adoption for this year, so we were able to reduce our textbook line by $30,000. From the governor's budget, which is what we were going off of, we had additional state funds of $56,348. We changed finance software this year. That's going to be a reduction of $15,000 for us. And then our E-rate funds have increased by $20,000. So the summary of what we're doing, you can see that The increase for our staff is going to cost us $238,649. That includes the VRS increase as well. That's all in there. The reductions are the bus purchase, which is $93,000. The textbooks, which is $30,000. Our insurance reduction is saving us $49,813, and then our software. So our reductions are $187,813. So that's
Which
the
leaves a
business.
balance of 50K or something.
Right, about 50,000. And then with, the changes in the revenue side of things, we were able to realize additional revenue sources, grants and things that will actually reduce our overall budget by around 44,000, and then also reduce the ask to the county by roughly 13. And I'll go through that in more depth. But yeah, so we're not asking for any increase. In fact, we're actually asking for a decrease and doing more with it. So, yes, and the challenge is real, but we have amazing people who continually ask that question, how do we do more with less? We know our enrollment's declining. We can't keep going back asking for more. However, we do have more of an at-risk population and more that does cost us more money to educate. So keeping all of that in mind as well. So I'm just thrilled with our staff and the level of creativity they have and the amount of community partnerships we've been able to forge to help us do this. This budget document, which will have just a couple of minor adjustments in it for right now, but I'll lead you through some of that to go through where we ended up. And of course, they're cute these are our kiddos, aren't they adorable? A lot of this budget is about the littles. You heard a lot about the preschool and early education. That was the state focus this year, and it was ours for a lot of reasons too. So I have a lot in here about that. Our report, as always, this is our third one, using kind of a similar format, different pictures and updates and things. So page 3 talks about our comprehensive plan and the goals, and everything in our budget aligns directly with our goals and our conceptual framework. Okay, so our strategic goals have not changed. We're still running on that same comprehensive plan. And I put the link in here too, so you can see the entire comprehensive plan as well. The conceptual framework for planning is the profile of a Virginia graduate. That's what we've been running on, and it is an exciting time in education because it's time that the legislators finally listen to teachers. Educators and legislators kind of got together and said, okay, this is what we need to graduate in our Virginia high schools, right? We need life-ready individuals, not just college-ready, because, oh my, we have a crisis in the workforce. We don't have enough blue-collar workers anymore. We don't have enough skilled tradesmen. What did we do? So they redefined the whole educational trajectory from K to 12 to encapsulate the profile of a Virginia graduate. So we're excited about that because we think it's definitely the way to go, and it gives our kids such a wider breadth of opportunities. So we're very excited to be a part of that. All right, I'm going to go by my notes so I don't just take you through this whole thing and make you dizzy. Our page 7 is our performance highlights. So again, we are fully accredited for 6 years in a row now. We're very pleased with that. And I don't think people really understand what a difficult feat that is the smaller you are, because every single child counts for so much more percentage-wise, and if they're in different subcategories, then it hits you multiple times. So we have a responsibility and obligation to be sure we know the academic growth rate of every single child that we have. So we are continuously progress monitoring, always checking in and providing that one-on-one intervention that is necessary to bridge the gaps. And it's working because we've been fully accredited with much more challenging demographics than we've had previously. So we're pretty excited about that. And I've also put links in that so you can see our full report card and all of that too. Let's talk about our enrollment summary quickly. All right, so preschool through grade 12, currently right now in our system we have 805 students enrolled. We are projecting our budget on an ADM, average daily membership, of 780. Enrollment and ADM are not the same thing. The ADM is the average daily membership, or the average days in aggregate attendance that a student is enrolled in the school throughout the year and attending. So your chronic absenteeism rate and things like that play into it. Also, it does not include preschool or outplaced or any students in your CSA pipeline, your Child Services Act or foster care. So you are still responsible for the education and the student records of those students. So there's still costs associated with that, but then they're pulled out of your ADM, so you don't receive any more state funding. So it's kind of a strange format that way. So this is how those numbers break out as far as demographics go. LCI this year, that was another challenge we had to deal with. Remember, we had the re-benchmarking, so LCI, the local composite index, went from a 0.76 to a 0.79, which is about as high as you can get, which means the locality is now responsible for about 80% of the overall operating budget of the school. And 20%, roughly 20% comes from state and federal revenue sources and other grants and things. So that made us very nervous because usually when we see that kind of a re-benchmarking happen and the LCI goes up, well, local obligation goes up, so does the cost, right? Local cost. So we were keeping that in mind too.
80% is the max.
It is. Yeah. 0.8 is as high as you can get.
1/10 away.
Yes.
I think there's only, what, 2 systems that are at 80?
There was, one time I think there were 6, but there's really only a few of us way up there now, yeah. Just a chart to illustrate, I've had this in my previous presentations too, but just to kind of show you our trends here with enrollment, with pre-K to 12, K to 12, and how that differs from ADM. And you can see the trend line in that graph on page 9, how that looks and how it affects funding. So again, enrollment is usually higher than what we see on ADM. ADM is not enrollment, that's just what you're being funded for, okay? All right. The next pages, I kind of go into overall revenue structures and where we get our money from, how standards of quality and basic aid funding work. So I went through a lot of this last year because there was a lot of confusion about that, and I think we clarified quite a bit on how that works. But your SOQ funding comes in on a per pupil basis for certain levels of funding for positions that the state feels that you must have in a mandate, only a percentage of that though. So even though you're funded for a certain number of positions, it never equals what you actually need to run the school. And in fact, it's usually much lower. And then you funnel it through our LCI and it becomes even lower what you get money for. So that's how that works. And these are the numbers that show in our current, which this will change a little bit again too with our new budget calculation tool, but this kind of shows you what we're funded for, what we actually have. We're trying to move a little bit closer toward SOQ mandates, meeting that, but you'll never be able to run a school based on just SOQ alone, especially with an LCI of 0.8 almost. So, okay, and those numbers are there for you. The school budget, let's talk about what's new, exciting. Because we are doing quite a lot of creative things with this budget and making it work for what we think our kids need and our community needs. So grants, we do a lot of grant writing and trying to get all the money that we need to make our, creative ideas work because, we want everything, but we don't want to pay for any of it. So we've been very successful in our grant writing efforts. Commit to Be Fit continues. Virginia Early Childhood Foundation, the Mixed Delivery Project, that was huge in being able to offer preschool education to so many families that would have been unserved or underserved because of the reallocation of Head Start funding to other regions. So we were thrilled to have that. They look like also in both of the chamber and the conference budget to have sustained to some degree. So, and we are, the more and more we've looked at the webinars and the new legislation and things, we're in great standing to keep receiving funding. So not guaranteed, there's still work to do and make sure we get in all our reports and our letters of intent and how we're going to expand our program. So that's looking really good. So I'm going right into preschool services. We've made great strides with our First Step collaboration project. We are so thrilled about the number of families we were able to serve through that. If you remember, we did receive the Virginia Early Childhood Foundation grant, which is the mixed delivery grant, for $250,000 to be able to keep that project going and look at gathering a lot of data, increasing the quality of early childhood education, and really developing offerings throughout the county. So it's not just about the school, but also our private providers and bringing that quality and standard of quality up, working with Virginia Quality. So if you remember in our last presentation, our last meeting, we were asking for a preschool set-aside of about $30,000 for what we thought we would have in a gap. One big reason for that was because our mixed delivery had a cap on the amount of carryover you could realize into the next fiscal year. We made the case and showed, with the differing in slots, and also we lost our education coordinator person, Carol Lucking, who's with us, and we just weren't able to rehire for that position to bring to the table what we needed. So we had some lapse and turnover money, to be able to carry over. So, and rather than just spending it out, we said, look, we have a gap in funding. Is there any way? What can we fill out? Who do we talk to lift the cap? And I'm thrilled to say they did lift the cap. So they're going to carry over that money. So now we're in much better standing for that. Additionally, we made the case through this collaboration that, wow, you really do have some at-risk youth. They may not all meet the federal poverty guidelines that Head Start just finally recently updated just this past January. But before, they were so far behind most of the other programs like FAMIS and TANF and all of those to adjust for cost of living and things. So that's why a lot of our population didn't really qualify for that programming. But anyway, so with the data we've been able to collect and show, that's why in our budget we now have Virginia Preschool Initiative funding as well, because we made the case that needs to return. We should be eligible. We have a lot of underserved families. So the Virginia Preschool Initiative funding that's coming into our budget is going to allow us to open up that second preschool class and be able to absorb that from within and too, from moving some staff. So we're thrilled about that. Additionally, there's some more money available now through that as well, because the success rate that we're having, the new data is showing that 1 year of preschool isn't enough to really mitigate the gaps that we're seeing in some of the children that come to us, especially from at-risk families and those in poverty or coming from trauma situations and things. So there's expansion grant money available now, and especially those who are already in the mixed delivery and preschool grant development phase have a kind of a better foot in the door to that funding. So we plan to not only apply for a mixed delivery expansion, preschool development expansion, BPI expansion for 3-year-old pilot, and also additional money for public-private partnerships, working with providers to build on your preschool development grant program. So yeah, we feel like we're going to be okay in doing that if we can have that other class and also get these other streams of funding. So as that opens up, I'm waiting for that application. It should be out by the end of the month, so we'll be applying for all of that.
And that all rides on the first step, like the MOU that we already have in place, and all rides.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's very similar. There may be some differences as we work through the additional requirements of the grant. There may be additional pieces that we need. One of the things we were considering on the preschool development grant piece expansion was, it might be a kind of a backdoor way of getting back into Head Start is if we were to do a regional preschool development initiative with our early childhood educators. We've already started that professional learning community. So basically setting up where you're collaborating with them, raising their quality, getting them to be able to accept subsidy, increasing the slots, but also being able to serve through grant funding their unserved population of Head Start students. So there's a lot of other counties around us who have wait lists for Head Start that can't get in. So what if we were able to pull those slots? So it looks like, so that shows that we're serving, there's enough slots to go around. Everybody needs a place. So that's something we're exploring. We don't know how that will pan out, but it might be a good argument to at least get early Head Start started, and then also maybe have a foot in the door with some Head Start expansion grant money we expect down the pike. So that's very exciting. Any questions about the school? So yes, the 30% set aside grant.
That's something that's coming up in the new state budget?
Yes, it's just that money is allocated in all of the budgets. So
okay.
Each house had, each chamber had certain amount put to that, so did the governor. So we're waiting on the final number, but then that is in grants, and how BECF will allocate that out to the applicants. We'll have to make the case for what we need.
Yeah, especially if you're expanding the type of program.
Exactly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and we were able to serve 100% of our families, so we didn't turn anybody away. So then that's something that none of the other mixed delivery communities were able to do.
That's 100% of those that apply. Is that right?
Mhm. Well, what they say with the data collected through food pantry and other methods, they think it's 100% of the eligible, which would have been, yeah. Yeah, we did a lot of outreach as part of the food study.
That's good.
Right, right. So thrilled about that. The charts following are typical, the percentage of the county budget that our school budget makes up. The whole budget is usually about half of the county budget, and then 34% is the local piece of that. Now this is where I need to make a little adjustment here. For a proposed difference in the budget, minus 13,000. The year before, this big number, yeah, we kind of did, that was the reduction of our debt service out of our budget, that's why that number is so big. But the proposed FY21 is a reduction of $12,862, so I'm about 170 off. We had a little last minute change in food service that knocked that number out, but the draft proposal has that accurate, so I apologize for that. Let's see. And then the following pages, 15 through 19, kind of just go through the makeup of the budget and how much of the percentage of the budget it is and what that goes toward and how much we put in those categories. So everybody can kind of see in a breakdown of a dollar bill what percentage that all of those pieces go to. Okay, so we use the same charts as we did last year. That had a positive response, so we'll keep that going. Let's see. New staff, I want to talk about that. And that's going to be
Page 20 needs to have the same total needed change at the bottom of it, right?
Right. That's the one, yes. All right, and then page 22. We talk about some exciting new staff. I say new, but they're not really additions to the budget. It's through attrition and redefining roles that we were able to do this. So it's absorbed into the budget. That includes our pre-K and a pre-K aide that we're able to absorb. Behavior interventionist. Last year, of course, we added the master's level social worker, clinical social worker, which has been hugely beneficial and has undoubtedly saved lives already. So we already know that. But to give you some quick snapshot data, our school social worker conducts about an average of 35 to 40 in-school sessions with students. Some of them from, things that we need to do through discipline or special needs or at risk. But a lot of that is the students self-selecting to go to her to talk to her about some of the issues they're experiencing. She also conducts about 2 to 3 suicide risk assessments a month. Which is good that we're intervening and assessing kids who have had any of those ideations or are at risk. Other students are telling us about their friends, our friends helping friends. Alan Rasmussen, when he came and talked to our students and things. So I think it's very positive. It's sort of like kind of ripping off the Band-Aid a little bit because kids are, holding on to things they're ready to share but get better and build resiliency, and we're seeing that too. But what it's shown us...
Elementary and high school.
Yes, elementary and high school. So the behavior interventionist is actually going to be district-wide as well. So we modeled this off of the Culpeper model. They've had this program in, I think, about 3 or 4 years now. And I know their superintendent over there and I have really hit the state hard on their ratio, their mandated ratios for school counselors, that they wanted to mandate how many school counselors you have. Well, not every school is the same. Not every school has what we have, and we have a LFCC career coach, and now through a grant, we have our Virginia College Advising Corps person full-time. We have these pieces. We have, we had 3 guidance counselors. I don't need another school counselor. I need a licensed mental health professional in the school that can help with some of these things. So the flexibility language did get in there, so they did not pass that. The change in the SOQ ratio, there's still discussion about it, but now they want to open it back up and say, okay, tell us what's more beneficial. So we need some flexibility in that. So luckily we're able to do that. The other issue that we've been really running into is with our mandated in-school services, like therapeutic day treatment services, they're getting denied more and more by Medicaid because a lot of they don't meet clinical necessity now under the expansion. Well, here in Rappahannock, we really don't have a lot of access to outpatient. We have kind of no access to outpatient services that they need to meet that clinical necessity. So we're seeing a lot of denials that way, which forced us to find a third-party contract. So now we have to contract out for a lot of those pieces. So we still have to pay for that. If we get too many cases, guess what? That's more than a physician. So this can actually save us a lot of money down the road. And also, hopefully, a lot of it can be reimbursable as well if we work through some of those pieces. So if not through Medicaid, then definitely through some of our other federal programs. So we can be able to do that. Also on the horizon, I didn't put much about it in here because we're so, kind of in the beginning stages, but you've heard me mention before the idea of exploring the school-based wellness center idea. A couple of years ago, we went to the counties saying, we have 2 mental health providers that want to provide some of the behavioral mental supports that we need, but we have no space that meets the clinical reg that they need. Is there any way we can find the space? And it was almost impossible because there wasn't enough available space that could meet that. So we heard, I heard Mark Johnston in Shenandoah County speak about his school-based wellness center in Shenandoah and how that works inside one of their elementary schools. And it has physical health, dental health, and mental health all within the walls of the school. So right now we're exploring that. We've had some conversations with stakeholder groups that are already meeting about the mental health issues and behavioral health lack of access issues in the county. So we are exploring the possibility of putting the wellness center at our elementary school, kind of in the front wing where we have already our nurses clinic, we have the conference room and the school psychologist office, which would be a really nice front and center kind of separate entrance, able to do very little as far as capital, but it would make a nice area. But what that could do, it could serve your families, your students. We also have the issue of chronic absenteeism, which is now an accreditation measure. So when I was writing a planning grant through PATH for this, just to study the feasibility, what would it take, what legal agreements do we need, what's the medical billing, how many providers do I need to commit, all that fun stuff. Again, I want it all, but I don't want to pay for any of it. So looking at those pieces, but the issue was that we have a lot of folks that take their kids out for just regular appointments and things, but it adds up. And I'm like, I wonder how much it really adds up, if we're talking chronic absenteeism. So I ran the numbers. As of February 1st, 1,365 log entries into our system for either leaving early, coming to school late, or missing school altogether for doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, mental health things, which are all excusable. They should do those things, but they're traveling. And then if I have 2 other children, I've got to take them too because I can't get back for the bus, and then that's missed time. So that all adds up. That's your chronic absenteeism. It doesn't matter to the state if it's excused or unexcused.
Think of the number of instructional hours.
Yes, and the instructional hours, that adds up. So 1,365 in a school our size, that's significant.
7,000 hours.
Right. So it's definitely a need for us for that, but also the access that we're seeing through our First Step collaboration, with our social worker, we see the need for providing services because as you have more at-risk families, the likelihood that they're going to take off work for preventative care, quality integrated care is very small. So the alternative is they're saving all their sick days for when their children are really sick and the emergency situations. That's survival, right? But so the preventative care kind of gets left by the wayside. So part of our Commit to Be Fit umbrella and our focus on health and wellness does include this piece and making sure our families and our children are healthy and feeling good and safe. And, so we're exploring it. I don't know how that's going to manifest. There's a lot of questions unanswered at this point. We're writing a grant to explore it even more. So we'll keep you updated on that. But it's something to consider. And we provide a space that, hey, if we had a provider that came in and was able to offer a doctor to our senior population and open 2 nights a week or a night a month, I don't know, something more than we have now, or open a telepsych for some of that stuff and actually prescribe. and do the diagnostics that we don't really have access to here. That would be pretty huge and significant, I think, for the community. But we'll keep looking and let you know what we find out.
Telepsych, is that what it sounds like, a telephone?
Yeah, you actually, yes, we actually had a provider come to us and say, we can do that. We can have the capability to do that now. We just need the space and secure and confidential and able to do that. But yeah, you pretty much have a little screen and you're kind of a webcast with a psychologist or a psychiatrist that can diagnose you and actually prescribe and, or at least provide the supports that you need or counseling and different things. So there's a lot of options and possibilities to this. It doesn't have to be the full-bore, wellness center idea, although that would be pretty amazing. But we'll see what manifests. We also need providers who are willing. It necessarily isn't the most lucrative for them, but I would love it to be where they can bill Medicaid and bill private insurance for all of those things. So more on that as we find out, and also find out if we get funded for the planning grant.
Right.
The financial education coordinator position, you've heard a lot about this. New program started. Thank you to the Help of Family Futures, Headwaters. The new program called My Future is the program designed to ensure that every Rappahannock County student graduates for that plan for the future, financial capacity, and academic and personal skills to pursue that plan confidently and successfully. So the academy model, again, sort of fits into that whole profile of a graduate and what we're trying to do. But this program, we're just thrilled with the reception of that so far. We kicked it off in January. The financial education coordinator position is 100% grant funded. So again, no addition to the county budget for that. And she's doing incredible things with the students, the families. There's already a lot of coaching going on with families and staff members about, I just, don't know what to do with this, or I don't even have a clue about how to do a budget, or it doesn't even have to be financial. It's just, what do you want to do? So it's just a really neat model. So the students are doing really well already. We have parents engaging with the program and doing things with their children to build the financial capacity. So we're thrilled that that program took off. Let's see. The Teacher Leaders Program with the additional endorsement incentives, we're also going to continue that through. That's been very successful in building the leadership capacity from within, and it also gives us a very versatile staff. And I was very surprised with how well this was received by staff. We had 8 staff members already take advantage of additional coursework or take the tests and do what they needed to do to get additional endorsements. And that really helps us provide the offerings we need and give the staff really a lot of job security with a declining enrollment, quite honestly, right? And we offer the $500 bonus in that funding. If you are able to achieve, we send it off to the state to get your additional endorsement.
Great way to get that flexibility.
Yes, it helps.
It's not very expensive.
No, it's cheap.
No. And that money is money we already had in the budget, and also some of that development work comes through our Title II grant for professional development, so it's not even a local lift, really, for some of that. Our agriculture teacher coordinator, we definitely need a person to be able to teach some of these classes and coordinate someone with the experience and the endorsement level, so we did have that. We got really very fortunate with a hire this year. This woman's incredible. We heard Michelle Fincham speak earlier, so we're able to, we have her in the budget already, and she's working with us. She actually is working on her K-6 endorsement, education endorsement. K-8?
Yeah, and I took my math classes for the 3rd time yesterday and missed it by 1 question.
Oh, you don't need to tell people that, honey. It's okay. We're with you. But that's for K-8. We don't need that for what she's going to be doing later. We're doing
I had to share that, I'm sorry.
She's so honest.
I'm so upset about it.
You got this. I'll help. But what she's going for is the career and tech endorsement. So those endorsements are much better. They're called technical professional. So it allows us to have career switchers like Michelle who want to get into education and love it and who do an outstanding job. We were thrilled with her this year. But also be able to use their work experience and not have that go to naught either. So she's able to use that to actually teach these courses. So we're thrilled about that. So and she's
being taught
already
by someone who has on-the-ground professional experience is So valuable.
Yes.
They're the best professors I had in college.
Actually,
They came out of the workforce during the day. And, yeah.
I mean, I'm probably a farmer because I had a sustainable ag class when I was a farmer in college.
Well, there you go. Those things are important, but it is kind of rare. We have a lot of career switchers sometimes. You've never been around kids before, have you? So it's really rare to find, people who have the actual, the talent and the art of teaching to go with the technical experience. So we're thrilled to have that. Salaries and benefits, again, we heard from Stacy, the 3% in step proposal. The conference budget put forth a 4% raise in the biennium. So your recommendation as a board to do the step and a 3 was probably very good, because what happened last time, remember, they had a 3% going in for the biennium, and then all of a sudden they hit a caboose bill and boom, it went up to 5. And if you hadn't made headway, then you had to kind of scrounge for it. So this puts us in a standing where we'll have met the biennium if the conference budget is the one that's finally adopted, where we won't have to worry and scrounge so much when when it's a good, when you have all these pieces come together, the revenue and the insurance is low and VRS is low, that's your time to be able to do some of those compensation adjustments. We don't know what's going to happen next time, where we may not be able to do that without having a significant lift and ask for the county to make up the difference. So I think that was right on. There's still a lot more emphasis from the state level at getting those teacher salaries up in Virginia. So I don't think it's going to stay at that 4. I think there's going to be probably some emphasis to get it up more next year, but we'll see how that goes. But I feel a lot better going in, knowing that we're on safe footing, at least safer for budget planning. If we had done just a step adjustment or a 2%, for instance, we may not have that for next year to be able to make up the difference, and would have to make some significant cuts to do so. Also, when we benchmark to the median again, we're still very low, especially at the lower part of our scale, which is going to be concerning because we have so many veteran staff that are nearing retirement age. So the 0 to 5 area is what we're going to be looking at, doing a lot of compression work next year. And that's going to be, our focus is not so much whole staff raises, especially if there's no SOQ mandate from the state, but also, making the compression where we need, reevaluating our staff. There's been a lot more changes with as far as where our range years are, so we'll be working on that, but we're still the lowest around us. We'll see what everybody else does. I saw that Culpeper just got hit with a 26% increase in insurance. 26%. So I know that's going to be really difficult to be able to handle even just the 4% in the biennium. So.
Didn't Balkier, didn't they propose a 12% increase?
I'm not sure. A lot of the superintendents I've talked to around us are averaging about a 5, kind of working with a 5%, but a lot of that's unknown until they get actual revenue numbers and things, so, yeah. And again, where we were out of 136 school divisions, we're kind of mid-range, which, we're not going to beat everybody at our size and where we are and everything, but that's fine. But we should be competitive, at least with the other rural districts around us in our region. And I think this increase will do that for us. All right. Our insurance rates, this was so great. We knew we had no increase coming, which was awesome for the 4th year in a row. But for them to call us this weekend and tell us, oh, by the way, it's decreased 2.5%, 2.6%. Well, okay, let's go back in and adjust these rates. So what we did with that was we kept the employee contribution the same. So the savings was realized by the employer contribution. Okay, and the staff will be ecstatic that not only are those staying the same, but they're also getting raises. So yeah. Commit to be Fit, we're still thrilled about that program. There's going to be sort of a revitalization of that coming this year. So now that we've got 4 years with no increase, man, we want 5 so bad. So we're going to work on that and get everybody on board and get healthy.
Doesn't count as 2 years?
Huh?
A reduction doesn't count as 2 years?
Yeah. Oh man, that'd be nice. So yeah, we'll continue to work on that. So far, in Commit to be Fit funds, we've brought in $1.278 million over the past 4 years. just for the grant funding. And then if you consider the about $1 million or so in savings and health insurance increases, it's been an incredible program for our county. And for our staff, we have healthy staff, obviously, because our pool is, based on us, and that's something we have a lot of influence on. We can't control it necessarily, but we do have a lot of influence on the health and wellness of our staff. In fact, Stacy and I have another lunch meeting with an insurance consultant tomorrow to say, what are you guys doing? How is this working? Oh my gosh. So that's awesome. Bus replacement schedule has been updated to reflect the change. Again, we're not putting in the replacement for this year's budget. If we have end of year funds, that may be kind of a first priority, but we won't know that until much later. But still, even if we're not able to get that, we think we'll be in decent shape. All right. And facilities, finally on page 29, your facilities updates. We got so much done. We're so thrilled that Mr. Curry at the county has been collaborating with us and his civil engineering brain and how he works the numbers and everything. So we were able to do so much with our facilities. Basically this year when you came back, we had a brand new elementary school for all intents and purposes. That's what it looked like. And it felt like, and the people felt good coming back to that. So we're thrilled with all of that. And also thanks to RapFlow with the updates in the courtyard. That's just been incredible too. And every single time, even in the cooler weather that I go down there, there's people in the courtroom. We've never had that before. It's usually overgrown and people are like, ooh, bugs, I don't want to go in there. Might have ticks. But so it's been great. So that is the superintendent's proposed budget. You do have an opportunity to vote on this tonight, but you also have another work session later in the month, which might be wise to wait because we do have some other numbers that may come in that will change it. But this at the very least will be the I guess the baseline. Anything else will be actually more money. There's no other bills in the amendments or anything that would actually reduce the revenue.
That's good to know.
It's very good to know. So if anything, any other revenue, we're not going to change too much other than reducing the county ask probably a little bit further. But other than that, we were very hopeful that the school construction money would have gotten in there. But it didn't make it. They put out a commission to study that a little bit more. But I have a feeling that that's going to take off for the next year, or definitely the next biennium, where that'll be direct aid to rural schools to be able to do a lot of these renovations that a lot of those localities struggle with.
It seems like the most concerning part is just looking at this salary chart and thinking that surrounding counties are doing more than 3%. Does that feel like?
Well, some of them are, some of them aren't, because health insurance, again, is such a big lift for a lot of localities this year. So I think what they started out as, I think everybody was going to 2 to 3, and then some have pushed it up further if they're able to, just trying to get to that national average. I mean, at one point that the House budget was looking at a 4.5 one year and another 4 the next year. 8.5 over the biennium, which would have been huge, but they were putting a lot of the surplus dollars into additional compensation supplements to help divisions do that. But when your LCI is 0.8, we're not getting much of that money. So I'd rather them not mandate it, but any chance we get to gain some headway on those surrounding districts is probably wise to do that, because when they get those compensation dollars, they're going to put it right away and just completely take off.
No, when these surrounding counties, when their health insurance goes up, they put that back onto the employee, and which means this bottom line that they're bringing home is not as glorious as it looks on this spreadsheet.
Yes.
Right, so,
that's it.
And we do market that.
We do.
Carol's told me we market that when we are out recruiting, but the numbers they don't reflect take home.
No. No.
Which is
right, because we're paying more generously into that.
Yes, but the salary level is what gets them through the door.
It does.
Always.
It
Always.
But I mean, if it's increasing at a rate, it's coming out of whatever this is reflected to them, so they have to know
right
that this is a better number.
It is.
If they spend any time doing any math at all.
It's a little like math test. It's that one question.
Right.
Unfortunately, you see what's on paper,
Right.
I think
does. They look at the salary. And I'm sure
It is something to
blinking.
market.
It's good that Carolyn's working on it.
And it's even good to market it.
I mean, the alternative is to give it and take it back,
Right.
to bump
That's
our number
basically-
up. Because that's what every other county is basically done,
Yeah.
right? Okay, as long as I'm not the only one wondering about that. Good. I don't want to change it, I'm just saying, when we're being honest about it, we're actually probably doing better than we look.
Yeah.
Great, thanks for that. So we're in good shape, so we're not going to be asking the county for any additional funds this year, it's the bottom line.
Yes,
Right.
no.
Given that comment, just where we're at in the agenda. If you would like to address the board this evening, this is a public hearing, and it's your opportunity to come and speak to the board about the budget in particular. If you want to speak about something else, there's another opportunity later on in the agenda. Does anybody like to address the board this evening? Would you like to see an increase? I'm just-
You got one in the newspaper.
We can find something to buy.
Chuck, you don't want to get up?
I do.
Come on. Looks like,
I'm just going to do it from here.
oh, speak loudly because we got video rolling.
I want to commend you all on the Ag Academy as a former ag teacher and FFA advisor. Many years ago, I think this is a fantastic thing, especially for Rappahannock County. The wealth of information that the kids can get, especially in the co-curricular part of it, of the contest. My youngest son belonged to the Signal Knob FFA chapter in Strasburg in the 8th grade. We homeschooled up until the 7th. He went to Signal Knob in the 8th. He joined the class, and it was a leadership class. He participated in soils judging, which was what my background was, and his team represented Virginia in the National Soils Judging Contest in Oklahoma City that year, and the whole team went out there. He also participated in the computer science program and participated as the only 8th grader in the contest in Virginia that year at Tech during the state convention, and he won the state contest. At that point, he figured he'd done everything he could in FFA, and he no longer was in FFA. But he used that computer science background to go to Roanoke College on a full ride in computer science, and today, 3 jobs after he graduated in 2013, he's now working in DC for National Public Radio as a professional white hat hacker. So I am very proud of him, and I've credited it to the FFA program in Shenandoah County. So I think this would be a fantastic thing for the kids, especially since you got most people already on staff, and it's not going to cost any extra money, so to speak. So thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? All right, I'm going to declare the hearing closed. There'll be another chance to speak on the budget. There's a joint meeting of the school board and board of supervisors related to the budget April 20-something, 20? April 20. We'll get the exact date out to you. It's a month and a half away, and there'll be another chance to speak to the board. All right, moving on, headquarters representative.
I do have a report. Let's see. I met separately with the Headwaters executive director and the chair of the board last week. They gave me a copy of a resolution that Gary Achel, the Headwaters board chair, sent to state legislatures on behalf of Headwaters asking for support of rural schools needs modeled on the joint resolution that was at our joint meeting, and Headwaters sent that as well. It was a good letter with even more details filled in, so that was, he did what he said he was going to do from the public comment. Headwaters also has welcomed a few new board members. our CPS parents, Donna Comer and Bruce Loth, who are both starting to serve on the board, and Tanya Paul and Keith Dutiel are also joining the board of directors, have just joined this month. So 4 additional, he said, they said that they could even use another 1 or 2 additional. So that search for additional members is on. Headwaters after-school programs are underway. Headwaters is also now providing snacks for 60 after-school remediation students, as well as their regular clubs. And they're serving 20 additional students with this 3-day-a-week program. That's what I have.
Thanks. Any questions? MVGS?
No, we did not meet, but we will meet again, eventually.
All right, moving on, discussion of the budget. Is there any board discussion of the budget was presented this evening? Any other comments or questions?
Thanks for
Well,
such a thorough.
Yeah, I just want to commend both of them. It's fabulous. It tells what needs to be told so that people can understand it. And it follows the plan that we put out over the course of the last 4 years.
We used to just hand this out.
And say, here it is. Yeah, a whole bunch of numbers.
Yeah, go figure it out. And so I think maybe we don't appreciate how good we got it with this type of communication. So appreciate the work.
And I would assume that paper copy is available at the library and here?
It will be, yes. We're going to disseminate those. I wanted to make these several adjustments, and we'll get them all printed and distributed around the county as well, yes.
And we'll put that on the website too.
It's up, and it's on board docs now as well. Yeah.
Great.
Will it be distributed widely after the board has approved this? Yeah.
It'll still be out, yeah.
So can you, so there's a stack that people picked up tonight,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like version 0. So can you put a version number on these things so that when we're shipping them out, people will know if they got the latest thing?
Well, typically, this is the one that will kind of outline how we got to where we've gotten, and then as we go through our next work session, I'll have another presentation that will outline any changes to that.
Okay.
But with this one, yeah, we'll put out another version with the $170 adjustment in the food service, and we'll see what the General Assembly does later. But like I said, it's not going to be, it doesn't look like anything major is going to change. It's just going to be a few numbers that we may have to increase in the revenue in certain lines that we can take care of at the work session, then you can adopt, so to send to the county.
Yeah, I might also say it like that. Yeah, I've worked in a big system, I've worked in a little system, and the amount of work is the same. The numbers are different, but the amount of work is the same. So you've got one person doing the same amount of work that a lot of people do in other big systems, and that's to be commended.
All right, moving on to the budget calendar, we do have a scheduled session on March 17th. March 17th.
It's Wednesday.
Next.
Tuesday.
That's next Tuesday. It's next Tuesday. So are numbers going to change between now and next Tuesday?
Yeah, Thursday, they could
Thursday they
vote
could
on and give us our new budget calculation. So yes, it could.
But we could next Thursday adjust based on that and then vote on a bottom line and get our numbers over to the supervisor.
Well, once they vote, I'm not sure how long after they vote that the calc tool for the school funneling through.
Already funneled through. So we may not have some numbers. So should we be meeting this soon, or can we wait a week, or?
Wait.
Wait. Sure.
I mean, there's no sense meeting.
Yeah, something going on St. Patrick's Day, I think.
Well, there's no sense us just getting together if there's things that are still fluid.
What date would it?
Which date would you prefer?
Maybe the 24th? A week later?
The
Is it going
following
to settle down by that?
It should. But you never,
You don't know.
the governor could say, I don't like any of it, try again.
It's more likely to be settled.
I think it will. I think with this, the legislators that are in office currently, I don't see there's going to be much bickering back and forth. But,
You don't know.
it's not a guarantee.
All right, well, let's at least move it to the 24th.
Okay.
Same time,
Same time?
6:30 at
Moving
the
it to
conference room.
24 at the School Board Hours Conference Room. It's open to anyone that wants to come. 6:30.
6:30. I have to change my calendar.
And the school board has been invited to the board of supervisors public hearing, which is April 20th at 7 o'clock at the elementary school. All right?
That's what it says.
That's what it says. That's what's going to happen.
That's what I had written.
And we will need a motion to later to modify that to include meeting on that date to make it a joint meeting. So we have to have a formal vote at this meeting to do that.
Yeah, did we
So I can
put that
change
down
that.
here?
Yes, it's under action items.
Yeah.
Right.
So you'll just need
All right.
a specific motion to say those two things.
It has to be at the elementary school?
Elementary.
Mhm.
I think it's at 7.
Yep.
All right, the VSBA honor roll, I didn't pull that document out of there. We should let people know what we're doing there. Is there a representative from the bank? Oakview? No?
No, it'll be next week.
Next week?
I mean, our next board meeting.
Okay, they'll come to the next
Yes,
meeting?
Yeah, they're not being presented with it at this
All right, all
meeting.
right. So
This
we
is where
voted-
you vote to
so we
send it
voted.
off.
Basically, the idea is we because of my future organization this year, and Oakview was such a critical part of that, as far as managing it, the board decided to unanimously give this VSB honor roll for them, and that's what we're voting on tonight. All right. Is there any public comment tonight related to anything else the public would like to address the board on? Anybody? Yes, ma'am.
I'm not exactly sure whether this is appropriate or not, given what you just said. Maybe next board meeting is appropriate. But I do want to say a little bit more about the resolution for the school board recognition for Oakview. They really did.
Can you come down?
It'll be on the.
I thought I had a really loud voice.
Well, the microphone, it'd be better if the mic picks you up.
Actually, take the mic to you.
I did want to emphasize that Oakview really bent over backwards and basically created an entire new accounting system to handle all these individual kids' accounts. So we will actually, and gave us a very good interest rate on those accounts, much better than any of us are getting on our personal savings accounts. We want one ourselves. But I did want to emphasize that they really did do a huge amount of work, and we're very creative and very cooperative in that respect, and we're supporting the whole growth of personal and financial skills in a lot of different ways. So this is more than deserved. They really are making their mark on the community, so we really appreciate it.
I appreciate you speaking up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else this evening? All right. We have action items we're going to be rolling through. Is there a motion to approve the Regional Special Education Memorandum of Understanding as it was presented this evening? We have a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion from Mr. Grove. Is there a second? Second from Mr. Rubin. Is there any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, no. And so ordered. We are not going to be adopting the budget this evening. Modification of the budget calendar. The modification includes the change for the joint meeting and the work session. Those two changes we already discussed. The work session is the 24th, the joint meeting the 20th of April. Or is there a motion to modify budget calendar? So we have a motion, Mr. Ubben. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Grove. Any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, no. And so ordered. Is there a motion to approve the VSBA Business Honor Roll?
So moved.
We have a motion from Ms. Bynum. Is there a second? Second. Second from Mr. Ubben. Any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, no. And so ordered. Is there any new business? I have something. This is exciting. Are you ready? I got a phone call today. I got a phone call from Dr. Jack, the superintendent of Rappahannock County Schools, and Shannon is blushing.
Stop it.
We have a letter that we've received. So when it comes to schools in the state of Virginia, it's broken down into 8 regions. We are Region 4, right? And I can't remember how many schools districts are in 4. I think it's
19.
like 20, or 19 or 20. And it's called the Northern Virginia District, is the one that we're in. And Shannon Grimsley, Dr. Shannon Grimsley, has been selected as the 2020 Region 4 Superintendent of the Year. All right, now you need to know. You need to know that these other districts, they have a single school that has more students than our whole district.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you also need to know that I told Dr. Jack I was not too happy about this because I didn't want this to get out.
I know.
I didn't want people to know what we got going on here, right? So it was a great honor and well deserved, and to a very creative mind that we have here in Rappahannock County. So we're very fortunate, and anyway, this is really cool. I've got this letter here, and hopefully somehow or another we can embarrass her publicly with some help from the press. Can we do that? Yes, we can. All right.
I think that also puts her in the running for the state superintendent of the year, which is another.
Boy, that would rock. Hopefully that comes with money. Does it come with money?
No, I think it comes with prestige.
Paperwork.
More paperwork.
Yeah.
You gotta fill out more stuff.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. The next regularly scheduled school board meeting would end up being
The 17th.
14th.
The 24th, right?
No, I mean
Or
the regular.
sorry.
Regular meeting, right? Is
Yes.
April 14th.
Sorry
April
about
14th.
that.
April 14th, okay.
All right. At 6:30 back here in the band room. I would assume we're back to their normal location.
Mhm.
All right. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
And I move the board convene into closed session for the following purpose: to discuss and consider the appointment of staff members for classified and coaching positions, discussion of superintendent's goals pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A1, and discussion of pupil personnel number 2019-20-01 pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A2.
Thank you, Mr. Grove. We have a motion. Mr. Grove, is there a second? A second from Mr. Rubin. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, no. Order, we're in closed session. So, if you care to wait around, we're going to be in closed session for possibly a while. 45?
There'll be a report.
You waited.
We just had a motion to go out of closed session. Now we're going to certify. The only things related to Larry's motion are things we talked about while we were in there. Mr. Rubin, certify.
Schuman certifies.
Larry Rhodes certifies.
Rachel Bynum certifies.
Lucy Mills certifies.
Suzanne Meyer certifies.
During closed session, we have tabled, let's see the personnel number. We have tabled pupil personnel case 2019-20-01. There are no, we do need to make a motion to approve a slate of personnel that was presented to us. Is there a motion to approve the slate of personnel?
So moved.
So a motion, Mr. Ubben. Second from Mr. Grove. They were substitutes for cafeteria, bus driver, some coaches, things like that. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, no. Mr. Order, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We have a motion with Ms. Bynum. Is there a second? Second from Mr. Ubben. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, no. And we're done. Thank you for coming. It's 8:30.